Hello everyone, it's Cam from Arsenal Theory back with another video, and today we're going to be talking about the news that broke regarding Arsenal youngster Charlie Patino, who apparently is looking to move on from the Arsenal, start afresh somewhere else. And I thought it was an interesting story, and we're kind of delving into a bit further really, because I think it's a pattern that we're going to see happening more and more with other youth players, and also the reaction to the fan base, which so far kind of looks split 50-50. You've got half the people who are saying this is a disaster, why are we losing him, and the other half going, yeah, no problem, he was never good enough anyway. So there's kind of like a polarizing response to this breaking news that was put out by David Ornstein, who's usually pretty reliable when it comes to this kind of stuff. So the situation is, I think he's 19 years old. He's been on loan at Blackpool. Arsenal have the option to extend his contract by 2 years. Or if they don't do that, I think he can basically leave the club. And it looks like he's said to the club, look, I want to go elsewhere because I want to play first team football. And he hasn't really got that opportunity at Arsenal at the moment. He's got the opportunity potentially to earn that right, but he's not going to be able to go straight in and start kind of demanding it. And this is going to be one of the I don't want to say drawbacks, but just one of the kind of side effects of having a team that's challenging for the league, is that being an 18, 19-year-old, you're going to really struggle to get into a central kind of midfield type position, really. So currently he's got ahead of him, you've got the likes of, you've got Thomas Partey, you've got Xhaka, you've got Jorginho, you've got Fabio Vieira, there's Lokonga, Odegaard, Smith Rowe. I mean, there's a lot of players. Now, obviously, they all play kind of different positions within midfield. All right, don't flame me, I know that, but they're all competing for a handful of spots. On top of that, you've also got, rumours that we're going in for Declan Rice, not Damien Rice, that's the singer, Declan Rice and Caicedo from Brighton. I mean, personally, I don't actually think we're going to get either of them, but hypothetically speaking, let's say we get both of those guys, that's even less positions available for Patino to be able to kind of jump into the team. So I can totally see why he is looking at it and going, well, I'm going to do what's best for me. And the issue is that there's so many other players from other clubs that have taken a similar move or a gamble, and it's really worked out well for them. So let's look at, if you go back quite a few years, you look at Jadon Sancho. He was at City, and he looked at it and went, well, I don't think I'm going to get the minutes that I want to get as a player. And he left and he went to Dortmund, did really, really well, tore it up at Dortmund, and got a £90 million move to United. Now, since he's gone to United, it's all gone downhill, but that doesn't mean he wasn't right to leave City, though. I mean, up until that point, it kind of worked out really, really well for him. And interestingly, it would have been a similar time, I suppose. You've had Foden coming through at City, who basically stuck around. City didn't let him go, didn't even let him go on loan. And, he's 23 years old, and he's now potentially, he's got to be on the verge of 5 Premier League titles, I don't know how many FA Cups, and probably a Champions League winner as well by the end of the season. So there's kind of pros and cons to both. So yeah, you've got Sancho, Tammy Abraham at Chelsea. He had a kind of breakthrough season at Chelsea, and then there were rumours Chelsea wanted to bring, I think they brought Lukaku in, didn't they? He went to Roma, has done really, really well from what I can see there. So you've got Jude Bellingham. He was at Birmingham City. I mean, he went from Birmingham City in the Championship straight to Dortmund. He didn't bother with any of the Premier League clubs, made that jump. And now he's like 120, 150 million pound player, pretty much got the pick of the world of where he can play. Madrid, City, United, they could all afford him. So it's really down to him as to where he wants to go. And so there's lots of these examples for someone like Patino to look at and go, well, I can fight for my place at Arsenal. I'll get X amount of minutes next season, or I could go somewhere else, get a lot more minutes, up my value, potentially be up for a bigger contract, and still be very young. I mean, he could leave, go and do 3 years at Dortmund, smash it out the park like Sancho did, and get a move at 22 for however many millions. You know, I mean, even Haaland did a similar thing actually when he left the Norwegian league. He went to Dortmund. Can't remember the name of the team he was playing for. But he did that move to Dortmund, stuck it out there for a few years, then just got crazy move to City. You know, I think he's on like €1 million a week or something like that. So if you're Patino looking at that going, well, if I'm good enough, I'm going to make it. But the timing's all wrong for him at Arsenal. And if he's not prepared to stay and fight for his place, then he's going to make that move. Problem Arsenal have got, I think, a lot of it is an optics thing here, because we've had Joe Willock who's left, who's tearing it up at Newcastle, and you look at how we're currently doing in midfield, and we could really do with someone like him. But we essentially sold Willock and brought in Odegaard, who's now our captain. So, but the team couldn't wait for Willock, or wasn't prepared. The team and the coaching staff weren't prepared to wait for Willock to develop his game, whereas Newcastle were, I suppose, and they gave him that environment where he could do it. We couldn't provide that. So that's another example of a player who's taken that gamble to leave, and it's really worked out well for him, because a good player is a good player, I suppose. So what I suppose as Arsenal fans, all we can really hope is that if we do go, okay, we could extend your contract by 2 years here, but we don't want to keep you at the club against your will, we'll let you go. But they put some kind of buyback clause in there. Or I'd rather a buyback than a sell-on fee, because the sell-on fee, you can use it as a discount, I suppose, if you're going to buy the player. But what if you want to bring them back before the other club wants to sell them? It's a lot tougher. Another City player this has happened with is Romeo Lavia at Southampton. Guy's incredible, but he knew he wasn't going to get the minutes at City. He's got De Bruyne, he's got Gundogan, he's got Rodri, he's got all these players ahead of him. So he's gone to Southampton. City have got I think it's a £40 million buyback clause that kicks in not this summer, but the one after. And that's looking like really, really good business on all sides. You know, Lavia's got minutes, and real minutes as well. And what I mean by that is in a team that's fighting for something. Yeah, I appreciate they're fighting for relegation and fighting to stay up, but there's danger. There's danger in those games that he's playing for the club. And, you know, when we played Southampton, I thought he was incredible. I mean, he just ghosted past Partey. Odegaard couldn't touch him. He was just, he was built to play for Arsenal. Just watching him, you felt like I'd be really, really interested to know if we can go back, if we can go in for him. But anyway, that's like another example there. So if you're Patino's agents and you're his family and you're him and you're thinking, well, what have I got to lose? What have I got to lose by doing this? And if he's not really getting the vibes from the club that there's a structured place here for you, then I don't blame him. I think the problem for the club is the optics, is that the Arsenal fan base is very reactionary, and everything's either fucking really, really great or really, really shit. And currently everything's really, really shit. Even though we're second in the league and we qualify for the Champions League, everything's terrible because we've thrown the league away. And that is what has happened. We have thrown the league away. You know, I do believe that to be true. And when a player leaves and is perceived to be successful, then it causes problems. I mean, I've done it myself. Last year, I felt like we were loaning out players that were better than the players that we kept. You know, Saliba was loaned out, and it's like, well, he's better than Rob Holding. Why have we still got Rob Holding, but we haven't got Saliba? I felt Willock was kind of better than a lot of our options in midfield. There's a couple of others as well that have escaped my mind at the moment. But Ainsley Maitland-Niles, that was it. again, he's actually gone to Southampton like Lavia, and you kind of thought, well, he could have really done a job for us last season, but for whatever reason, he just wasn't feeling it, and the club didn't make him. The club couldn't give him that. Not that they should give him a guarantee, but the confidence that everything was going to work out. So obviously he left, and he's going to go on a free transfer at the end of the season. We turned down like £20 million for him at one point from Wolves, so that's £20 million we've just lost. So from the fan base's point of view, and if you're Arsenal PR looking at it, you might be a bit worried, because there's players that have left that have gone on to do good things who we feel like we could have done with at the time. Now, the way you ride those situations out as a club is by winning things. So Chelsea lost Sancho. Yeah. They lost, I won't say they lost Lavia, because they could still buy him back, but there's that situation there. Sane, they kind of let go back to Germany. Chelsea have had it with De Bruyne, Salah, Tammy Abraham, maybe Levi Colwill, I think, because he went to Brighton, is that right? But then again, they may have a buyback in there, I'm not sure. But Chelsea have had it with several players over the years that have left and gone on to do great things. But it was always less of an issue because they kept winning titles and cups, Champions Leagues, and we haven't done that. So as long as, if we're letting these players go, but we're not winning, that accusation is always going to be held at us. If next season we go out and do the treble, for example, obviously we're not going to do that, but if we do that, no one's going to care that Patino left. No one's going to give a monkeys. But if we slunk out, scrape fourth, or even worse, end up in the Europa League or something like that, get dunked out of the cups early, poor Champions League run, everyone's going to be pointing fingers. Well, why is this player gone? Why is that player gone? Why have we kept these players? Why are we letting players go that are better than what we think we have? So hopefully that doesn't happen, but you could see it happening. For me, the jury's out on a lot of the players that we've brought in recently. I think the jury's out on Kiwior, mainly because we haven't seen him play. We bought him, but we don't play him for whatever reason. I'm not sure what that is, but he's clearly, they don't feel he's up to scratch yet. But we spent £20 million on him, so the jury's out on him. Fabio Vieira, jury's out on him. Tavares out on loan, really probably not good enough. Marquinhos out on loan, yeah, really probably not good enough. I mean, there's people questioning if Jesus is good enough. So all those other players are definitely going to be put in the question pot, so to speak. So while we have made improvements in our recruitment, I don't think it's quite as nailed on as it potentially could be or needs to be. So I think the fan base will accept it more, players leaving, if we get good money for them or do good contracts where we can buy them back and we reinvest the money appropriately. We've got another youth player. Well, there's kind of two in there, really. You've got Balogun, who signed a new contract. We sent him out on loan. He smashed it up in France, scored nearly 20 league goals. He's on 18 league goals in 32 games, in not a great French team in Reims either. Excuse me. And so that's worked out really, really well. But what do? Do we bring him back into the fold? He looks a similarish kind of mould to Nketiah, who's already the backup striker. He's not going to want to play third fiddle. Is he confident enough to win his place? I don't know. I suspect we're going to cash in on him. That's what I think is going to happen. Now, you can sell him, but if you sell him, you need to, from the fan base's point of view, that money needs to be reinvested. So if you sell Balogun, but bring in, say, I mean, forget about the betting scandals, but bring in, say, Ivan Toney, no one's really going to complain about that. It still might end up being a bad decision, but you could at least trace the decision back to logical reasoning. So, yeah, we don't know what the club are going to do, because historically we've not been good at getting big deals over the line. We kind of dilly-dally, we wait. I feel like we try and negotiate down too much, and it will cost us. And it will cost you more when you're trying to sign the likes of a Declan Rice, a Caicedo, and even Ivan Toney, because all the top clubs will be looking to sign those levels of players. And so unless the player's got a real kind of desire to join you, then it's an even playing field. I mean, sometimes it works out your way. I mean, I'm sure there've been players that we went hard for before. I mean, it was when we sold, I can't remember who it was we sold, but we put in a bid for Lamar for Monaco, and it was a crazy figure. It was a crazy figure. And I think it was because we'd just lost someone. Was it Van Persie or Sanchez? I can't remember. But anyway, either way, we couldn't really get it over the line. And you look back at it now and think, yeah, it probably worked out for the best. Mudryk, we don't really know. We don't really know if that was going to be a blessing in disguise that we missed out on signing him, or if that was a real problem that we missed out on signing him. I don't want to jinx it too much because obviously we're playing against him tomorrow. So I don't want to say like something that works in our favour, because actually he'll no doubt turn up tomorrow and tear up the carpet at the Emirates, especially with how we've been in transitions, now pacey he is. So, but anyway, and the other Arsenal player we've got an issue with at the moment is Ethan Nwaneri, who's only like 15, 16 years old. And, you know, he's been offered a professional contract, I believe, but hasn't necessarily accepted it yet. And him and his family will be looking at this going, well, is it the right thing? What's the pathway going to be? How many obstacles are in the way? Is this the right development opportunity for me as a player? Do I want to keep playing reserve team football, or am I actually good enough and physically strong enough at that age to play men's football every week? And maybe he is, and if he is, I can see why he might go, no, do you know what, I'm going to take some chances elsewhere here, because he's so young that he can afford to do that. Someone like Trossard, for example, is in his late 20s, and Arsenal come along and he's at Brighton. He's like, no, I've got to take this chance now. But someone like Patino or Nwaneri, it's the opposite end of it. It's like, well, I've got time to get to that level. I just need to be playing. So yeah. And the level of the team, although oddly enough in midfield, I do feel we can upgrade. But is someone like Patino good enough to upgrade on straight away? Can he come in? I mean, that Blackpool team, I was surprised he went sent on loan to Blackpool, got to be honest, because as far as I can tell, they don't really play. I'm not saying they should be able to, any team should be able to play like Arsenal play, who we loan players to, but the kind of overall philosophy of what they do there, I don't feel is in any kind of Arsenal sort of ballpark here. So I was surprised he went there up north. It's a southern kid. I don't know. There's just something a bit off about that move to me. And he hasn't played every week there. He's been benched quite a bit. They've been struggling in the Championship. The fans like him, and I've heard the fans say, yeah, he's a top player and he's kind of going to go all the way. And maybe just the demands of that team aren't suited for him. So, I mean, ideally, I'd like to really keep him, or at least sign him up to a new deal, bang up his wages, and get him a good loan in the Premier League. You know, maybe like a Brighton or a Palace or someone like that, maybe. Because English central midfielders with that potential are quite rare. I mean, look at Declan Rice. He's going to be £100 million player. And if there's any chance Patino could be something like that, then why would you let him leave the club? So I do question the club's talent IDing, because there are some signings that we make that you just think, well, what were they seeing? Because what they were seeing is not being recreated on the pitch. Fabio Vieira, you've seen glimpses. I think you can see a world where Vieira comes good. You can kind of see that there's a player in there, but obviously he's very young as well. Was he 21, something like that? So has he got the time? Will he get the time at Arsenal to develop? You know, Lokonga, I don't think he's pulled up many trees at Palace, but I actually saw glimpses. I thought, like, when he came into the team at the beginning of the season again, like, I thought he had a good game against United, even though we lost. It wasn't his fault. And there's glimpses there, but he had to go out to get the minutes, and you question his mentality about certain things as well. You know, there were some snippets of him from the Amazon doc that we did, where he was kind of moping around and a bit neg about not being played, and then Nketiah had to check him. And but that's another thing. You got someone like Eddie Nketiah who just wasn't getting picked, but just refused to give up and just kept going and going and going. Eventually got his chance, and he really, really took it. I mean, he was on his way out. Lacazette gets COVID a couple of years ago, or last year, sorry, and he just takes the chance, earns himself a new contract, 100 grand a week. Now, whether we should have renewed him or not, that's a different kind of question here. But the fact is, he engineered a situation, and made it work for him. But it doesn't look like Patino is prepared or wants to do the same thing. And why should he as well? I suppose, you know, if he wants to go and get those minutes elsewhere, then fair enough. Let him get those minutes elsewhere. But I thought it'd be an interesting video, because there's been some interesting reaction from the fan base about it. Potential. How do you judge a player's potential, especially as armchair fans? And I say armchair in the sense that how many of us have seen Patino play in the flesh? You know, hardly any of us really. So you're kind of like, there's not a lot for you to kind of go on. Now the club will have the data and they'll have the analytics and all that kind of stuff on him. From an eye test point of view, he looks like a Rolls Royce of a player, but I'm not really capable of judging that. And I suspect if you're watching this video, you're probably not either. So it's the fear of missing out, because we've just been starved of success for so long, and we love it when a youth player comes through. So I don't know. We'll have to see how it plays out. Quickly, I just wanted to. It's been really bad. It's been really down. I've really struggled up these last few results, trying to kind of keep a smile up around the house and try and be positive. And I didn't really watch any of the football. I watched one bit of football at the weekend. I didn't bother watching the City game. I actually forgot it was on. And I checked my phone and just saw this flashing image of like Fulham equalised. I was like, oh wow. And then tuned in later and saw that City had won 2-1. So that made me depressed again. And then I watched the Liverpool Spurs game, and obviously Liverpool blew them apart. And I have to say, what then happened was the most Spursy thing quite possibly I've ever seen. And that's saying something. To be 3-0 down at Anfield at half time, come back to 3-3, incredible comeback. I mean, I don't mind saying that either. It was a Herculean comeback. Liverpool don't go 3-0 up at Anfield and come back to 3-3. No one really does that. And to then throw it away in the last second, right at the end. Literally, they've equalised, bang, Liverpool score. I mean, if you're a Tottenham fan, that will scar your heart. That really would. I have Arsenal footballing scars all over my heart. You know, everywhere. Champions League, final against Barcelona, big old lot of scar tissue there. Van Persie going to United, more scar tissue. Fabregas going back to Barcelona, scar tissue. And then when he left Barcelona, we didn't re-sign him, more scar tissue there. Then he goes and wins the league with Chelsea. It's outrageous. The league here, Leicester won the league. Yeah, there was just anyway. There's a lot. All clubs have it. All You know, all fans have those moments that just tattoo themselves on you, unfortunately. But for Spurs fans, my word, just horrific. And one of the things that stuck out at the end for me is when Mora played that stupid pass back, and obviously Jota's gone in and slid it in the goal. Is that I think fans don't get the credit that they deserve for their footballing knowledge. Now, I'm not saying I've got a lot of footballing knowledge. I have a lot of football opinions, but I don't think I'm not a great thinker of the game. I'm not particularly tactically astute or anything like that. I'm probably just like your average kind of fan, really, just with an opinion. But I think pundits and players are wrongly quick to kind of downplay the level of intelligence in the average football fan, because no Spurs fan at all would have done what Mora had done at that moment. Every single Spurs fan, if they'd been on the pitch at that point, would have completely appreciated the situation that they were in, which is, wow, we've just equalised 3-3 at Anfield. Let's not cock it up. Yeah, that any Spurs fan would have just rosetted that ball. They wouldn't have tried to play it, be cute with it, try and do something slinky in their own right by their own goal. They would have just punted it, because they would have known that Liverpool were going to come back out and try and grab that winner in front of their fans. That Liverpool wouldn't accept losing a 3-goal lead at Anfield. But you know, it was hilarious. It was. If any of you know, there's one main Spurs YouTuber called Expressions, and he's really funny. He's a really, really funny guy. He should be a comedian, really. And his reaction to it, because he live streams his games, is cinema. It's just pure cinema. So that really cheered me up, and it cheered up a lot of the fan base as well. Some great memes out there on Twitter and stuff. So yeah, please go and check that out if you want to laugh at Tottenham. So also, we've got the game tomorrow against Chelsea. Want to see some changes, and I don't think we will, by the sounds of it. I don't think he's going to change it up, Arteta. I think he's going to keep it the same. And if I was Chelsea coming into this game, I would have no fear at all. I would be like, Arsenal are there for the taking. If we start off well, put them under pressure, and get an early goal against Arsenal, the crowd will start turning. And I believe I think the crowd will, especially to this Chelsea team. So I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see how that goes. So I've got to wrap it up now. Wow, I've done nearly half an hour. So thanks for watching. If you stayed to the end. Yeah, if you like the video, please press the like button. Please subscribe. My goal is to get to 100 videos. Then I'll see what I'll do with the channel. But I am enjoying making these. It's a learning curve for me as well. At this age, and basically 44, start doing YouTubing. I'm sure it's not a midlife crisis or anything like that. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers very much. Bye-bye.